Hello, my YouTube friends. Today I'm going to talk about the 8 top stocks that I'm going to consolidate my safe deposit box stocks into. Stick around, I'm going to tell you why I think these are the best companies to own. Good morning. My name is Adam Kahn, and I'm the Rational Investor. I hope you're all doing well. So, I've talked with my brother a long time about I should really just own 10 companies, maybe 15 at most, but not try to stretch out because I think the best companies are always right in front of our faces. So, yesterday I started consolidating my portfolio into what I think are the top stocks to own. But before I get into that and tell you what companies I think are the best ones, if you guys could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, make some comments in the comment box. Let me know what stocks you think are the best ones to own. I really tried not to stretch too far. When I got to the ones that I had to start thinking about, I really backed off because my attitude was they should really come right to your head and be the top companies you can think of. So now the funny thing is, as much as I was just like, you know what, I'm ready to do it, I'm going to get rid of all of the riffraff and just consolidate into these stocks, I still managed to keep some of the ones I didn't plan on. Now, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to do anything for a long time because these are really the companies I had originally bought to own for 10 or 20 years. Now, most of these I owned already, but a couple of them I've wanted to for a long time, so I actually added them to the account when I got rid of some of the riffraff. So the first one I'm going to mention is probably the company I like best, mainly because they're diversified and they maintain such a big portion of retail. And that's Amazon. If somebody said to me I had to put 100% of my money into one company, I personally would probably pick Amazon. Now, also remember the thing I always say, this is not investment advice. Please do not make any investment decisions based on the stuff I talk about. This is just a guy on YouTube. I'm just sharing my opinion and stuff that works for me. Please reach out to your financial advisor, do your own research, and do the things you need to do to make your decisions. This is just a conversation of what I like. So, but if I had to put 100% into one company, for me, Amazon's it. It's got all the retail. They do their own shipping. They've got Amazon Web Services, even the Prime with the movies and everything else. They're so well diversified at this point, and they're really good at what they do. And when I've traveled, the interesting thing is, we went to Europe one year and Asia a different time. I don't see a ton of their trucks running around, which tells me they still have room to grow. And I also think that they can advertise and do all sorts of things on Prime. I just see them in a great space. They're a great company. They're really well run. And my God, the Amazon truck is outside our house a few times a week with things that we need. It's super convenient. Originally, I used to go there mainly because of the price, but over time, it's the convenience that drives me to use. Now, I already owned Amazon, so I didn't really have to add it into the portfolio, and I'm comfortable with the position I have. It's a nice big position in my portfolio. I think it's the second largest position I have, and really, I plan on owning Amazon for the next 10 years. I'm going to do nothing with it. So, number two on my list, and now the rest of them are not in any real order, I just think these are the best companies around, is Google. Now, I picked the GOOGL one, but really both of the two options are pretty similar in terms of how they move in terms of price. One has voting rights, one does not. But similar to Amazon, outside of the retail aspect, Google's really well diversified. They're number one in the searches. They have YouTube as well, which obviously you guys know. And the news that came out recently about they're going to lose 25% of their search due to AI, it's hard for me to believe. Great companies find ways to weather different storms. My guess is Google's got a really good team of AI people as well, and odds are they'll do a pretty good job of keeping their client base. And I just see them as like the blue chip of tech and Google search and everything else. They're such a great company, and now I mean they must own a bunch of ancillary companies as well. So Google's number two that I'm going to talk about, and we'll get to number three. The third one on my list that I wrote down is one that I did not own, so I bought it yesterday after selling some of the other stocks, and that's Microsoft. Microsoft had a great transformation, maybe I'm guessing 4 or 5 years ago, where they went into the monthly subscription plan, and pretty much all of us have Microsoft on our computers. It's hard to get away from it, whether you use Microsoft Word or Excel or all their other products. They're so well enmeshed into just our daily lives, we barely even notice how much we use it. I constantly want to add it to my portfolio and then I don't want to pay up for it. But the reality is, the best companies are often expensive in terms of valuation. It's hard to just bite the bullet and buy them, but they tend to outperform and they tend to do well, whether it's an up market or a down market. Now, keep in mind that doesn't mean they don't go down with the market when the markets go down, but they tend to go down less than the rest of the market. I think Microsoft is going to be around a nice long time. I think they're going to continue to grow their revenues and earnings. I think they're a great space to be invested in. Next on my list, which what are we up to? Number four is my largest holding, but primarily because I got into it so great and put on an okay position, which is Meta, formerly known as Facebook. I really like Meta. I mean, they're primarily an advertising company at this point, but they're not just Facebook, they're Instagram, they have WeChat, they've got Oculus. Facebook is really in a lot of different spaces of social media and all sorts of things. And I think they've gotten to the point where they'll take over competition to continue to grow. I understand TikTok came around and they're hurting their business a little bit. And I also talked about in some of the other videos, the things that nobody liked about it when the stock fell is a little of what I do like about it. My guess is when Mark Zuckerberg was investing in the metaverse and changing the name to that is because he saw the writing on the wall about Facebook. It's probably primarily old guys like me, and I don't even use it so much, who go on to Facebook. It's not something that our kids use. It's probably got a limited lifetime in terms of growth, and maybe there isn't much growth there. Well, I love a CEO that is still looking for avenues to grow their business. And I think the reason he was transforming is he didn't just want to be a dividend company, he wanted to continue to grow his company. Now, the interesting thing is they did add a tiny dividend. What I think about that's so cool about that is they really have ability to grow that dividend really quickly if they wanted to. So I think year in, year out, and year in and year out, you're going to see it go up a nice percentage, even though it's such a small percentage of the payout currently. So I love Facebook. I like Meta. I think they have great potential for the future. Now, next on my list, number five, if I'm counting right, was the toughest one for me to buy, which is Apple. The reason it was so hard for me to buy is, while I think they're a great company and probably one of the best out there, legitimately I think they're overpriced. Their earnings hasn't grown a whole lot. I actually sold it not too long ago. Dan Niles was talking about it, and I kind of agreed with him. I made a tiny bit on the sell versus the buy, but that wasn't the goal or the concept. It really was sticking with top companies. And when I thought of the first five, the ones that I've mentioned so far were really the first five that just came to my head immediately. Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Amazon. They're just like immediately what I think of when I think of the best companies. So that's what I want to be invested in. And I don't want to get too sensitive to if I feel like I'm overpaying. I just want to put these in the equivalent of a safe deposit box and wake up in 10 years and see how I did and not worry about it. I don't know how many of you have listened to or read about Peter Lynch, but that was kind of his strategy. Is just pick great companies and stick with it. And that's worked the best for me of anything else. Well, Apple fits that category. What I worry about is that it's the iPhone, and at this point it's gotten a little stale. The updates aren't so interesting, but they do have Apple TV, myself included. I have a whole bunch of movies that I bought on Apple that I'm really probably not going anywhere because I still watch them and use them, and, I like their products. So that's number five. Number six on my list, again, not in any order, was a toss up between Starbucks and McDonald's, and I went with Starbucks. You know, they're a great company. I don't see them as this real fast grower at this point. I'm hoping they're slow and steady. The reality is they broke through the downside of their range, which isn't so wonderful, but I like Starbucks, so I'm not going to worry about it. My thought is in 10 or 20 years, they're going to continue to grow. And part of what I like about Starbucks is I know I've talked about it, I've actually gotten comments that nobody wants to hear about my son, but I have a 13-year-old son, and what I like about Starbucks, while he doesn't care so much about it, a lot of his friends do. They know what drinks they want. They go in, the parents know what drinks the kids get. And I think if they're going there today, in 20 or 30 years, odds are they're still going to be going there. Maybe they've changed what they get for their drink, but I think it gets ingrained in them and they grow up with it and they'll continue to visit them as a store. So I see the longevity, and I think that gives them the ability to continue to grow their revenues. The other thing that was really interesting is when the cost of goods went up significantly, they were able to raise their prices without too much of a loss of business. That's really impressive, and that shows you how much people are dedicated to Starbucks. So I really like them as a company. I think people are kind of addicted to their coffee. Me personally, this huge glass. I'm so cheap, I make my own coffee at home. I talk about it in other videos. I can't stomach spending $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee at a store. Mine costs me 30 cents. I can have 3 cups and it costs $1. Now, I'm just a cheap guy, I get it, but maybe frugal would be a more kind way of saying it. But for me, that really pays off in the long run because I get to invest in these companies I think are great with the savings that I save by being cheap about other things. So number 7 on my list is about the only one I really did split up into two companies, which was trying to decide between ExxonMobil and Chevron. I think they're both great options, and I have both, and that was what I split up into. I already had them in the portfolio. I added on a tiny bit. We all know what Exxon does. We all know what Chevron does. While I actually own electric vehicle, I still think they're going to continue to dominate in that space. Oil is still a big necessity. They're the top two in the field, in my opinion. So that's where I wanted to be, and I would want some money dedicated to that space. The other thing is both Exxon and Chevron pay a decent dividend. I tried not to be too sensitive and I tried not to even think about the dividends when I was getting into these. I really just tried to pick the companies I thought were the best ones. I have a separate account that is dividend only, and I don't have these stocks in that account. The other one is about trying to drive some income. This is where the bulk of what I put away is, and I really just try to put it away and ignore it and not even watch the price fluctuations. And then last on my list was one that I recently had talked about, but I see it as a really good opportunity, and I do think it's one of the top stocks around, which is Palo Alto Networks. I think they're a phenomenal company, and I think the fact that their last earnings didn't go so well in terms of the market, and it caused it to drop off, 20-25%. I think that gives a really good opportunity to get in it at a good price. Now, the other thing I did in the account is I kept about 10% cash on the sidelines for when I see opportunities like I did in companies like Target. I still want to have some money around for companies that I think are great companies, but maybe not in my top 10 list where I think something comes out where they get oversold. Probably should have considered doing it with Archer Daniels Midland, and I'm even looking at Boeing right now, and I like UPS, but I think it might be a little bit early on UPS. I'd wait until it got lower to really dig into it. But I wanted to save a decent sum to really put on a nice position when I see those opportunities. I mean, my God, Target had a move of almost 70% in the past 5, 6 months because it got so oversold. I still want to have some money on the side and be really patient about those opportunities. Anyway, again, my list of 8: Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Starbucks, Exxon and Chevron, and Palo Alto Networks. Now, Exxon and Chevron I counted as one. So those are the 8 top stocks I picked. Again, don't forget to subscribe and like. Enjoy the rest of your day. I didn't say it in the beginning. Today is Wednesday. I forgot to look at what the actual date is. I think it's like April 17th or 18th, somewhere around there. So enjoy your day. It's actually beautiful out here. I didn't get to do videos the past 2 days because I've been feeling so great. Hopefully, you don't hear it in my voice. And even though I never have any energy, I probably have a little less energy today. So have a good one, guys.